Hey, and welcome to the show. I'm glad that you're with us here. Missed last week, as I mentioned, I was off to Europe to drive the new Porsche Cayenne, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and why car companies fly auto journalists to events. On the review that I put up of the all-new Porsche Cayenne, I did talk a little bit about, some people were putting questions in there where does Porsche pay your way to go to the trip and what have you. So I will be addressing that in just a second. I'd like to say hi to the early ones that got on here. Owen K was wait for us to go live here. Roy Park as well. So we have other people's getting in on the action. If you want to get a question in, feel free to get in the chat. Probably not going to get to everybody, but it's great that you want to take part. Now, I want to talk about a few things first before we get into the live Q&A. Some upcoming events. Next week, I'm going to be heading to California to drive the all-new Mustang. Looking forward to that. Styling is more in line with the GT350 that came out last year. It was a huge success. Probably one of my favorite cars that I've driven in the last few years, the GT350. I'm a longtime Mustang fan. I absolutely love the current generation of Mustang. So they've made some updates, so that's going to be fun to do. Then after Mustang, it's the Kia Stinger, also back in California the following week. A lot of excitement around this car for Kia. It's going to be a halo car for them. Halo car means sort of the car that gets the most attention and shines a light on the Kia brand, and they're doing a lot right. Those might not know that Kia is now top 3 in terms of initial quality from J.D. Power and Associates and dependability. So it's a brand that is definitely on the rise. So that's going to be a lot of fun to drive. After that, I'm heading to Whitehorse to do a comparison between driving with winter tires and driving with all-season or straight summer tires. So that's going to be a lot of fun to basically show people that winter tires definitely are something that you need in Canada. Then back to Los Angeles for the LA Auto Show, following that by the Infiniti QX80 and then the Nissan Leaf just before the Christmas holidays. So that's all coming up. Now, a lot of people posted on the Porsche Cayenne video that I did. I just came back from Greece saying, does Porsche pay for your way to get there? And it's a biased review because they paid your way to get there. Well, the one thing I want to say about Porsche is that Europe is sort of the domestic market for Porsche. For example, I'm going next week to Los Angeles, to the Malibu area, to be driving the Ford Mustang, and Ford is bringing journalists from all over North America to the launch of the new Mustang. So this is their domestic market, North America. So nobody seems to bat an eye when I get an invite from Ford to drive a Mustang in California, but I go to Europe to drive a Porsche. People are like, oh, you got to go all the way to Greece to drive the car. Well, you've got to remember that Europe is the domestic market for Porsche, and them having an event in Greece is like Ford having an event in Miami. They pick warm places where the weather's going to be good, and they also get a bit of a break, I think, in Southern Europe because the economy in places like Spain and Portugal and Greece isn't as strong as it is in Northern Europe, and I think that they get a bit of a break on accommodations and what have you. So why do car companies host events in different parts of the world and fly auto journalists in to test the car? Well, they will have probably 2.5, almost 3 weeks of journalists coming through, not only from North America, so the wave is what they call it that I was on, was the North American wave. So it was Canada and the United States. Then they'll have a wave from China. Then they'll have a wave from the Middle East. Then they'll have several waves from continental Europe and on and on and on. And this takes a few weeks. So it's really nothing new in the auto industry. I go on these trips regularly, and it doesn't make me biased in my reporting about the car because it's farther away. To be honest with you, that was my 8th trip to Europe this year. And if I did it once and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm flying all the way to Europe to test drive a car, it would be a major novelty. But the fact that I do it regularly throughout the year, trust me, the week before I was in Spain with Audi, we flew, and it took basically 24 hours to get there. We were in Spain for 23 hours and then flew back to Canada. So it's not all glamorous. Yes, somebody else asked, do we fly business class? And we do, because we are literally there for anywhere from 24, and the shortest trip I had was 18 hours to actually be on the ground, drive the car, and then fly back. And if you're landing and you're basically getting behind the wheel of a car, you need to be able to get some rest in advance. So that's why flying in the front of the plane and being able to stretch out and get some sleep on the way there is absolutely vital. Now, one manufacturer doesn't allow this, where you fly all the way to Europe, you get off the plane and you drive the car. Mercedes-Benz makes the auto journalist be on the ground for about 24 hours and get a full night's sleep before they're allowed to drive their cars. All right, hey, before, and I am going to get into the question and answer. Some people are saying the video is out of sync. Can you tell me quickly if that is the case? Because I think I can change that in here quickly. If somebody wants to post that, I apologize. I wasn't reading the chat room before I started talking there. So I apologize if it's out of sync. If it is out of sync, I think I can change that quickly. Anyway, yes it is. Okay, let me just get into the settings here. If you lose me, don't worry, I'll be right back. I'm going to go into the settings, audio, and 48 kilohertz. I'm going to change that. I'll try it in 41. Does that help? Does that help with the audio? I'm a one-man band, so I apologize. All right, somebody's saying, yes, the voice is before the video, and somebody else is saying the video is ahead of the audio. Your voice lags. So let me switch it back again, because I have gone through this, and I have tried to set it up. Let me try back, 48 kilohertz. It won't let me do it. Okay. All right, I tell you, we have a bit of a problem. I'm going to switch this down for 2 seconds and then restart it. So I apologize. I'm going to stop the live stream and then I will be back literally in just a short order. I want to get this fixed, so I apologize for that. So I will stop it and I'll be right back. I apologize. So I think we might actually Okay, we're back now. Hopefully that has solved it for you guys. If not, I will have to work on it for next week. Until then, I do apologize. Okay, so I wanted to just quickly say a happy Halloween to everybody. So this was me and my wife on Halloween. Of course, on the left is my wife, on the right is me. Now, why was I dressed with army gear? Because about 4 years ago, I went as Duck Dynasty, and I'm lazy, and I didn't want to have to redo a whole outfit. So what I did was I took the Duck Dynasty outfit, which was camo pants and a jacket, got rid of the beard, and painted camo on my face, and got a beret. That was pretty easy. So that was a lot of fun. Last year, we went as hippies. There's my old Volkswagen van. I got rid of the van, by the way. The van is gone now. And my wife and I also went as Grease one year. But I think my wife definitely looks better than me. So there you go. Okay, so let's see what is happening over here. Still lag, but I just won't look at you. Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. All right, let's get into some of the questions here. So hopefully everybody has a good Halloween, and I am lazy. I don't like to, I actually am not a big fan of Halloween. I have a 2014 Sprinter with a diesel 4-banger. It's not available anymore, V6 only. When will the new updated 4 diesel be available for Sprinter? I don't know. I apologize. I don't follow the, you know, work van stuff that much. So I'm you know, check with your dealer. Check with forums is a great way. Any car you have, there is an equivalent forum for that car. So if you're a Sprinter fan, go and find a Sprinter online chat room or forum, and I'm sure there'll be information in there. What's your favorite full-size pickup truck? Well, I really loved the Ram Eco Diesel. That was the Ram 1500 with the V6, 3-liter turbo diesel. Not available any longer because not only is Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche caught up with the diesel scandal, FCA is as well. They also use the Bosch exhaust system, and they're not meeting standards either. Interestingly, with Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche, it's front page news around the world for over 2 years now. But you know, Fiat Chrysler gets caught with their 3-liter diesel, and it's basically a headline for one day. So that was my favorite. I love that engine because I'm a big diesel fan. You didn't have to get a heavy duty to get the diesel. Now Ford is bringing out a diesel, which I haven't driven yet, in the 1500. But I would say right now it's the Chevy or the GMC. I think that if you look at the quality scores, they definitely score very, very well. It's super quiet and comfortable, and they have many different options for, literally hundreds of thousands of configurations for trucks. So right now it's those two trucks. Hi, Zach, what's your second name? Well, first, Zach isn't my real name. It's fake. So there you go. I don't have a second name. My second name's Spencer. That's fake too. Now you know. Are you excited for the Kia Stinger? Yeah, I'm pretty excited to go and drive that. As I mentioned, if you're just tuning in now, I definitely am excited to go and drive the Kia Stinger. I think that it's great that we have another vehicle that is definitely going to be exciting and have something to offer. And it's really exciting to watch what the Koreans are able to do in a relatively short period of time, whether it's Genesis on the luxury side, Kia on the value side, or performance vehicles. So I'm looking for that. I drive a 14 Audi A8. This is from Abe. Lovely car, but I want to save some money. Looking to lease something cheaper, considering an Accord Coupe or Civic. Will I hate them after Audi? Well, you're going to have to rush to get an Accord Coupe because it's no longer available. You have to get one, I think this is the last year for it, if it's still available, or get a used one. And if you if you're going from an Audi A5 to a Honda Civic, yes, you will notice a big difference. Now, if you're going to an Accord Coupe, you might want to consider a V6 because that is a very nice car to drive. So yes, will you notice a difference? Absolutely. They're different, totally different brands with different value propositions. One is more luxurious and performance oriented. The other is more value, everyday commuting kind of car, and you will notice. But I must say that the new Honda interior in the Accord, the brand new Accord, not the V6, is very, very nice and very upmarket. 8-passenger vehicle, Pilot or Sienna? It depends what you're moving around. If you're moving around a lot of kids, nothing beats a minivan. Like, you can try all you want with a 3-row utility vehicle. Having sliding doors and the ease of getting in and out of a minivan, nothing can touch it. So if you're moving kids around, a Sienna. If you're only taking kids in the way back seats occasionally, then the Pilot. My favorite actually isn't the Pilot, it's the Highlander. I think the Highlander is a great product. The new Atlas is very good. I'm not a huge fan of the Pilot screen. It shows a lot of fingerprints and dirt, and they're 9-speed automatic. I'm not a huge fan of, but yeah, I see them everywhere. Hey Zach, I watched you for years on Driving Television. For those that don't know, it's the TV show I host every week on Global TV. I'm a huge fan. Bought cars because of your reviews. My question is, when evaluating a used car purchase, what do you need to see? Okay, a quick sort of buying a used car 101. When you're buying a used car, you're buying the previous owner, okay? So if somebody looked after the car, then the chances are the car is going to be well looked after. So if you're buying used, I always say maybe spend the most you can on the best used car you can find. And often that means buying from an authorized dealer. So if you're like, we'll use the Honda Accord, for example, Honda Accord Coupe, buy one from a Honda dealer. And then if it's 3 or 4 years old, it'll often qualify for what's called a certified pre-owned warranty, which extends the warranty from the original 3 or 4 years, depending on the brand. Premium brands, it's typically 4 years to about 6 years. It extends the warranty. It's gone through their shop. It's been refurbished. Now, 3 additional things you need to do. You want to get a car proof report. The dealer that's selling it, ask them to provide it. And if they don't want to provide it, then you probably don't want that car. So that's a car proof report in Canada and the United States. It's Carfax. The other thing you have to do with any used car, even if it's 6 months old, so you've got Bob's Honda dealer here in this part of town, you got Larry's Honda dealer at the other side of town. So Bob's selling the Honda, you get them to deliver it, make sure they're not affiliated, they're not owned by the same person. You send it to the other Honda dealer and get them to do what's called a pre-purchase inspection. It's going to cost anywhere from about, what's going on now? There, it's back. I apologize if we're having any issues. If you take it from one dealer to the next and get them to do a pre-purchase inspection, it's going to cost anywhere from $150 to $250. You paid for that. You're the only one that reads it. So if there's any issues with the car, you know it. The selling dealer does not. And you can negotiate, say the muffler's starting to rust, things like that. All right. Now, the last thing you do is if you have the ability to find out if it's had any accident claims against it, for jurisdictions like Saskatchewan and British Columbia where they have government-run insurance, you can often look this up. In British Columbia, you go to ICBC and you give them the VIN number and you put out the VIN number and they should be able to get you the accident report. All right. I apologize for any issues we're having with the live stream. I'm just wondering if it's my Wi-Fi is acting up. So I apologize for that. Why is that you avoid not really answer any questions regarding high-end luxury vehicles? Although most people are interested in affordable cars and some of us are curious about upscale. I'm not sure what I'm not answering about high-end cars. Hey Zach, this is for Durham. In a previous video you said to stay loyal to a brand you like. Just wanted your 2 cents on the VW brand. How do you reconcile the great product Golf R with the recent Dieselgate? Well, here's the reality about Dieselgate, and I own a diesel car, so in this situation, I would almost guarantee you that 98% of all of the people that bought a diesel didn't buy it because it was clean diesel. They bought it because it gives incredible fuel efficiency, has incredible torque, excellent long-term durability of the engines, and until the Dieselgate situation happened, above average resale value. So those were the real reasons why people bought diesel cars. Yes, so they were definitely cheating on the emissions side of it, but that didn't affect all of the other reasons why people bought diesel cars. So it still got great mileage, still had great durability, still had lots of torque and amazing fuel efficiency. Now, the resale value, we'll have to wait and see in the long run if diesel cars are going to be worth more. I suspect in the long run, in the next 5 years, diesel cars are going to be worth more money because there's going to be so few of them available in the marketplace. So did Volkswagen rob you of any of those attributes about the car? No, it still delivered all of that. The resale value is a question mark. However, Volkswagen is compensating diesel owners with large checks because they were caught in this diesel situation. A perfect example is my father has a 7-year-old Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon TDI Highline. Now, he only had about 90,000 kilometers on it. His check is almost $23,000 from Volkswagen. So that's a lot of money. So is he happy with the fact he bought a diesel? Well, in the end, absolutely. I almost guarantee you, people today say, oh, I don't want this car and I don't trust Volkswagen because they're putting up more nitrous oxide than they said. Nobody was buying their diesel because of emissions. They were buying it for all of the reasons I just stated. And yes, trust me, nobody is going to give a pass to Volkswagen because they did this. But the people who own their cars and like their cars are probably going to continue to like driving them and enjoying them. So here's a perfect example. I have an Audi that's a TDI diesel. Would I get another one if I could? Yes, I would. Heard anything about the 2019 Forester? No, nothing yet. Do you remember the Nissan Quest? The world's ugliest minivan. It was not a big seller. The minivan market is really fragmented into 3 main players now. So you've got Odyssey, you've got Sienna, and then you've got the Chrysler van, which I guess the fourth one is the Dodge van. But that's it in minivans. And you know what? A lot of people say, well, the minivan market is shrinking. But for people who need one, they enjoy owning them. And if you've never owned a minivan and you've switched to one, then it definitely is something that is an eye-opener when you've owned a minivan, just how practical they are. I'd like to hear your thoughts. This is from Tom Chan on Acura's dropping 10 places in Consumer Reports rating. From 19th to 27th. Any reasons to choose more reliable Honda equivalent? I think part of the reason is I don't know, because I haven't done my typical interview I do with JD Power and Associates. I'm not a big fan of Consumer Reports. I would suspect that it comes down to their new transmissions. They've gone from 6-speed automatic transmissions to 8, 9, and now 10-speed automatic transmissions in those cars, and I think that is definitely have something to do with it. And a TLX is a perfect example. The Acura TLX. Every time I drive that car, I walk away and I go, why? They got the TL as maybe unfortunately designed as it was a very good car and bulletproof and built like a tank. And then they got rid of the TL and they married it with the TSX and they came up with the TLX. And so they got rid of two very good cars, and now they have one really mediocre car. And I think it probably comes down to the transmission. So if you have any insight on why Consumer Reports dropped it down, I would almost bet it's that. So yes, you can go over and get a Honda equivalent. So the TLX is a perfect example from Acura. I would go right past the Acura dealership and I would go right and get the new Honda Accord. It's a way better car on pretty much every single level than the TLX. And it's a shame, really, because Acura is now a utility company, which most companies are turning into. Volvo is going to be just a utility company. People are moving away from passenger cars, which brings me to a great point. If you're in the market for a car, you want to keep it long term. I've been going back and forth with one of my old friends in Ontario about buying a family car, and he likes sedans and his wife wants a sedan, and somebody else was emailing me the difference between an Accord and a Camry. There are going to be some really good deals out there because everybody's shifting towards utility vehicles. What's forgotten in all of this is the good old mid-size family car, which for many people is better handling, has a more comfortable back seat. Sure, you don't get the cargo space in all-wheel drive, but if you're living in an urban area and you don't need that all-wheel drive and you can get a good set of winter tires, which is perfectly fine, there's going to be some really good deals. Like right now, all of the existing Honda Accords are going to have to be sold off to make room for the brand new one. Same for Camry. And then to compete with that, existing cars, like one of the sweetest cars out in the mid-size market right now that nobody buys, that I bet you could get a screaming deal on, is the Mazda 6. Great car. You never see them on the road. So that's one to consider. Will the 2018 Mazda CX-5 get any changes from 2017? Well, the biggest change is going to be the claimed diesel engine they're putting in the Mazda CX-5. So we're still waiting to see it. Now, I haven't looked recently, but I just wanted to let you know I was on the website for Mazda and I found that they don't have the 18s listed yet. Somebody might want to check right now, but they're still selling the 17s because they're waiting for that diesel to arrive. Somebody's saying Volkswagen e-Golf or Toyota Prius Prime, which is their plug-in extended range electric vehicle. I'm unsure of the choice. Now, the one thing about Toyota is Toyota's been making hybrids for a long time now, 20 years, and they have proven that they become ultra reliable. So who's going to win on the reliability score out of the gate on new technology? Well, it's going to be Toyota. However, over at the Volkswagen Golf, what I like about that car is it's a conventional Volkswagen in every way. It has a really nice interior. It isn't funky looking. It doesn't look like it's from outer space. It's just a really nice, simple hatchback configuration, and it's actually quite a lot of fun to drive. And you can get 200 kilometers plus if you drive it efficiently of range out of that vehicle. So Toyota wins hands down because they've been doing hybrids and they've had plug-in hybrids for 5+ years now with the Prius. So they know what they're doing there. Volkswagen, on the other hand, has the interior is so nice on that vehicle that I think it's worthy of consideration. So one is a plug-in hybrid that doesn't go that far on pure electric, and the other one is a pure electric. Plus, the Prius Prime is only available in the province of Quebec right now, not available in the rest of the country. Your thoughts on reliability of the BMW X5 35i, the inline turbo 6-cylinder, versus the 35D, which is the diesel version, looking for minimal repairs and something that will last a long time. Well, the one thing about diesel engines is they are known to be very reliable, and they have great longevity, and you need to do maybe a little bit more maintenance on them throughout the years. But if you have a diesel engine, many stories of diesel engines going 1 million plus miles. It's not going to be the engine, to be honest with you, with a BMW. It's going to be all the other stuff. Door actuators, air conditioning units, and all the electronics and peripheral things that get added onto a car, in my opinion, are the things that break and kill you for long-term reliability for German cars. It's not typically the engine. It can be, but it's a lot of times electronics and other peripheral things on the car. So long-term reliability, that's a problem. Somebody else is pointing out your voice is not synchronized. I understand that. I think what might have happened, you know what, I just realized something. Let's see if I can fix this. Hang on a second. I changed the shutter speed of the camera. That might have done it. So maybe that's the issue. If somebody could let me know if it's better. Somebody wrote here, Boru, your criticism doesn't matter. You don't have to defend your reviews. Yeah, you know what? I don't really worry about defending my views on cars too much. I've been doing this a long time. I'll pretty much take on anybody with a challenge of my thoughts of the car, and you're entitled to have a different opinion. That's totally fine. But how I got there is my own opinion, and you are the ones who decide. Here's the great thing about YouTube, and it's a very democratic system. So I have an opinion of a car and I put it out. And if you agree with me or you like my viewpoints on things, then you continue watching, you subscribe, and you come back and watch other videos. If you don't agree with me and you think I'm a dickhead, then you don't come back. So, you know, basically the public decides. It's very democratic. So I've been able to get a following in Canada on YouTube, and that's what I've been trying to do. So let me just skim to the bottom here and see if it's fixed now. See if I can fix it. Audio still out of sync. Video is still ahead. That's a pain in the ass. I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to have to fix this. You know what's interesting is I didn't change a thing on my settings from last week to this week. So I apologize about that. It's really frustrating. And this whole live thing is new to me, so I'll get on it. I love the Lexus RX 350. This is from Marcel. I don't really care for the new design from 2016 on. I would, however, buy used 15 or 14. What are your thoughts? Well, I'm kind of in agreement with you. The Lexus as a whole, I think, their styling is trying like really, really hard. Now, the beautiful LC500, that's a gorgeous car. But for example, the NX, the one that's based on the RAV4 with all the edgy design, same with the RX. It's Lexus and Toyota. Same thing with the new Camry with their sport model. Lexus and Toyota were known for so many years as being sort of beige and vanilla. So now they're trying so hard with their styling to get noticed that it's almost a bit forced. And in the case of the RX, I'm not a huge fan. I always joke when I talk to the Lexus people, could you make the grills any bigger? And could you make it more edgy looking? So on the downside, you've got that edgy design. Some people love it. That's great. Go for it. But on the upside, the new Lexus RX is a vastly improved machine in every way. The previous Lexus RX, even though it was a luxury or premium vehicle, I found it noisy. The new one is quieter. The suspension is much improved. Along with the edgy exterior, they're actually improved the handling, and it is improved. You now have the opportunity to dial in different suspension settings, and it does work. The new interior is absolutely beautiful. So yes, the exterior design, you might warm to it or you might not, but the new RX from Lexus is a much, much improved vehicle. What do you think of the BMW M2? Hot hell, that's a beautiful car. You don't really see them. You know, the 1M was a car that I absolutely loved. Remember the 1 Series from BMW, the two-door car, and then they had the 1M. It wasn't an M1, it was called a 1M. That was a wonderful car. The 2 Series is the secret in the BMW lineup. The car to really get isn't the M2, it's the BMW 2 Series, the 240, with the upgraded new 6-cylinder engine in there. I think it's only got 20 horsepower less than the M2, but it's much less expensive. That is the secret car in the BMW lineup. If you're a performance-oriented driver, you want a fun little sporty car. And the other thing about the 2 Series is the 3, the 5, and the 7 Series, every time they bring one out, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So the 2 Series now reminds me of the 3 Series from about 15, 20 years ago. So even though it's the smallest car on the lineup, it's not as small as you think, and it's a really wonderful and rewarding car to drive. Fietti says VW Tiguan or Honda CR-V, looking for long-term reliability, ride quality comparison. BMW Tiguan. Okay, so well, if you're looking for long-term reliability, Honda has proven that out over the longest period of time. You know, people have had Honda products for decades and they've had really not much problem with them. So if you're buying just based on that, I think that, yeah, definitely the Honda is going to be the winner. Ride quality, you know, that would be a really good comparison. The Volkswagen Tiguan, the current model is not as dynamic and fun to drive as the previous model, which was a much smaller. It was kind of one of the smallest vehicles in the category. Now the Tiguan is one of the biggest. So when you go from one of the smallest to one of the biggest, something's got to give, and it's not going to be cornering ability and road handling. However, the vehicle is much more usable for everyday situations. So what is your definition of ride quality? Is it handling or is it smoothness? I did find the Tiguan really quite smooth. So go back and watch the review. I did it with my wife, and she was absolutely taken with the new Tiguan. The CR-V is the CR-V. It's still a wonderful design. The interior is very well laid out, and they're basically like apples and oranges, to be honest with you. They're quite different from each other. How would you spec the new Porsche Cayenne? Well, this is coming with my wallet, okay? If it was your wallet and it was infinite, I'd get a Cayenne Turbo and load it up and spend, you know, $150,000 on it. But this is my money now. And if you watch the video, I said I've owned a Cayenne in the past and will probably own another one. So what I would do is I would get the base model Cayenne, because now the base model has gone from being a VR6, a Volkswagen-derived engine that has been used for 25 years. The upside to that engine is it was very reliable, the most reliable engine in the Cayenne line. So the last ones of those are being sold now before the new Cayenne arrives next summer. They replaced that VR6 engine with a 3-liter turbocharged engine. It's the same engine. It's actually an Audi developed engine that Porsche is using in the Cayenne. So it's 3-liter turbocharged. It's a single turbo but variable scroll geometry. And it is actually a wonderful combination for that car. You can go up from that to the Cayenne S, and you go from 340 horsepower to 440 horsepower, but a massive jump in price. It goes from $75,000 to $92,000 before any features. So if it was me, I'd get the base Cayenne and I'd add in the features that I want. And even with all the features, if you were careful, even with all the features that I would want in a base model Cayenne, it would probably still be cheaper than a base model Cayenne S. And for the average everyday driver using it, taking, you know, it's a family utility vehicle, doing stuff with kids, going on the odd weekend trip to go skiing or to your cottage or whatever, the 340 horsepower in the new lighter Cayenne is absolutely fine. There's no shame in owning that car for sure. It's the same engine I drove the week before in the new Audi A8, their full-size luxury sedan. No problem at all. It's really a great engine. Is the 2-liter turbo Kia Stinger going to come to Canada? I see on their website they only have the 3.3. Yeah, I guarantee you that they will have probably all of the iterations coming. It might initially be they're going to try and sell the most expensive one first, which is often the case with new cars when they come out. They give you the most expensive one to buy, and then you wait maybe 6 months or a year, then they bring out the average model that most people will buy. So they want to sell more, not less. So I would almost guarantee it'll have both versions. What do you think of the 2018 Toyota Sequoia? Well, there is no new Sequoia yet, but there should be one coming soon. It's an ancient product, and I'm not a big fan of the Sequoia when it comes to road manners. I find it big and lumbering, and the brakes especially not that good. And it's way overdue for a refresh. There's a lot of Toyota vehicles that need to be redone. The 4Runner, the Tundra, and the Sequoia, and I think they are going to be coming within the next year. I'm deciding between the Acura, make that the Lexus RX, and the Acura MDX, your pick. Well, the MDX is quite a bit bigger. The RDX is a 2-row 5-passenger utility, and the MDX is a 3-row 7-passenger. So you need to decide whether you need that extra row for kids or grandma or whatever it is. The MDX is a good car. It does everything, it does a good job on everything. It doesn't really excel, and I hate the split screen. The 2 screens, I just don't like it. I prefer the single screen that they've gone to with the Pilot, for example, even though I don't like the glossiness and the fingerprints in it. I just had the MDX. You can go and watch my review I did of the MDX 3-4 months ago. It's a fine vehicle that does everything well. It just doesn't do anything particularly well. The Lexus RX, I think, is a better handling vehicle. I think the interior is more modern and upscale. The styling is edgy and a bit quirky. So you have to decide. Do you need the 3rd row? Is styling that important to you, and road handling and interior? So you figure out what are the why buys for you and decide on those basis. But you know, if you're looking for 3-row SUV, it's going to be MDX. All right, your pick between the Subaru Forester 2.5 Limited and the Nissan Rogue SL, keeping it for more than 200,000 kilometers. Well, here's the thing. Both of them come with a continuously variable transmission. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think that Subaru's CVT is one of the best in the marketplace. They don't buy an off-the-shelf CVT and then customize it for their products. They actually have their own in-house unit that they've developed. So then you look at Subaru's long-term reliability when it comes to engine repairs in previous vehicles, and they have had a history of some problems there. So those are my concerns. Continuously variable transmission between the, oh, this is such a hard one. I think you've got about an equal shot with both of them for long-term reliability at 200,000 kilometers. But doing the maintenance and keeping up on it is probably the most important thing you can do, especially around the continuously variable transmission, if it is serviceable. Some of them are sealed units, so that's something you'd have to find out. I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's a 50-50 split. Toss a coin on those two. Somebody else asked again, what are your back on the diesels? What's your opinion of the BMW X3 or X5? Well, the X3 is a 4-cylinder diesel and the X5 is an inline 6. And if you have never driven the BMW inline 6-cylinder diesel, do yourself a favor. It's a bit of a rocket. In fact, the Audi, Porsche, Volkswagen V6 diesel, the one that I have in my A7, is a bit of a rocket. So I would, the one thing I love about the V6 diesels is you get the power of a V8 with the fuel efficiency of a 4-cylinder. So yes, it's going to get better fuel economy if you get a 4-cylinder diesel, but when it comes to power, it's the best balance, I think, of the bigger vehicle, of way more power, way more torque, but excellent fuel economy. Speaking of diesels, recently had an A3 TDI bought back looking for a sporty replacement, maybe a 135. Any other suggestions? Well, the 135 is a great car, as I mentioned. So if you're looking for a used BMW 135, yeah, wonderful, wonderful car. Resale value on those is absolutely amazing. You search and look for a BMW 1 Series. They're still holding amazing resale value. In the United States, not in Canada, I think the 1 Series has the highest resale of any passenger car. So if you can't make the stretch for the 2 Series in the used market, then a 135, absolutely a wonderful product. Should I get the Honda CR-V 2017 or the new RAV4? Back to the question, what are your why buys? Why do you want this vehicle? Are you going to keep it for a long time? If you're going to buy this car and keep it for a long time, run down to the Toyota store and buy it. The reason is it's old technology been updated for 2017. It's got a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that's been around for a long time. It's got a good old 6-speed automatic transmission. It's been around for a long time. You buy it, you maintain it, it will run for the long run. Now the CR-V on the other hand has only been out for about a year now. It's new technology. It's got a continuously variable transmission. It's got a smaller turbocharged engine. So yes, Honda knows how to make small engines. They make more small engines than anybody else in the world. If you include lawn mowers and things like that, outboard motors, motorbikes, you name it. So they know how to make engines. The turbo factor is the question mark in the long term for reliability. So if your why buy is long-term reliability, run and get the RAV4. I would like a sporty performance car, Camaro or Mustang. I love the Mustang GT. For me, it would be the Mustang GT all day long. Honda Accord Coupe or BMW or Mercedes? I would say depends on your budget. If you're looking like a CLA, like a Mercedes CLA, I think the Honda Accord. It's a wonderful car. I apologize again about the streaming here. I think it's maybe my internet connection tonight is a little bit off, so I apologize about that. Let's see if it comes back here. There we go. If you didn't catch that, I think it might actually be my internet connection is a little off tonight, so I apologize that. Hi Zach, I have 2 leased Cadillacs, a 2015 ATS and a 2017 X5. Both 4-year leases. I would like to have shorter lease periods in the future. Any tips? Best time of year? 2 or 3 years better. Well, the great thing about most car companies is if you go on their online configurator or their calculator, it will show you the leasing options for 36 months, 39 months, and so on, even 24 months, the number of kilometers you drive, and you can find you know, what payment is best for you. By the way, I had the Cadillac ATS V. The video is in the computer. I haven't finished editing it yet. Oh my God, what a great car. Cadillac ATS V. Amazing. I was looking, I liked it so much, I was looking at the pricing online. $68,000, which is an expensive car, but it's got 464 horsepower. But they have $8,000 off right now because they're just not moving. You say in a breath, oh, I'm thinking of a performance compact car. It's going to be cars like the BMW M3 or the M4 and maybe AMG car or maybe an S or an RS car from Audi. Cadillac, unfortunately, isn't figuring into that conversation as often as it should. So they have discounts. Now, here's the tip I'm going to give you on anybody that's leasing a car. Don't walk into the dealership and say, hey, I want that blue one, I'd like to lease it. You don't do that. You go and you say, hey, I like that blue one, let's work out a price and a deal on that car. So what you do is you get them to give you a discount. For example, on the Cadillac is $8,000 off on the ATS. Well, that's from General Motors Canada, from Cadillac. Doesn't stop you from asking for more money from the dealership. So you got Bob's GM dealer here, $8,000 off from Cadillac, and then you go to them and you say, well, that car has been sitting there. It's a 2017, it's going to be 2018 soon. Can you sweeten the pot, give me a couple grand off, throw in some winter tires, whatever it is that you're going to do to get the deal. So once you get all of that decided, then you say to them, oh, by the way, I want to lease it. So you've already discounted the price as much as you can, then the lease is based off of that price. So a lot of people, unfortunately, go into the dealer and because the lease rate is lower, they pay full MSRP. You negotiate first, then you tell them once you're in the back office with the sales, not the sales guy, the business guy, by the way, I'm leasing it. Oh, well, they never said you wanted to lease it. And you say, well, I'm telling you now. So whatever the price is that we decided on, yeah, lease it based on that. All right. Somebody asked, do you think the Volkswagen GTE will ever come to Canada? Yeah, I don't see why not. I think you've got to get through this initial batch of electrified cars from Volkswagen. I think they only brought in a few hundred for 2017. They didn't know how they were going to sell. And Volkswagen will be the first ones to tell you they were surprised by the demand. So they're going to start bringing in more e-Golfs for 2018 and beyond. I just might be going down to drive one of the Volkswagen ID cars that have been shown at all of the auto shows around the world. So that I'm looking forward to. So yes, I think that as the popularity of these vehicles starts to take off, then they might introduce more of them. Somebody just says, Lactech says, Zach, can you please comment on companies like Kia will ever bring diesels to Canada? They sell diesel Sorento in Europe and Australia. I'd love to get a turbo diesel Sorento. Well, look at Volkswagen and the headache that they're into. The biggest difference between North America, Canada, United States, and around the world like Europe, where there's diesels everywhere, and other parts of the world like Asia, is we have the strictest diesel emission standards in the world, which is why these companies got caught cheating, because it was very hard to meet the standards. So they cheated, and they got caught, and they got wrapped with billions of dollars of fines. They have to buy all these cars back. They got to fix them, billions and billions, plus billions, then take a whole bunch of billions more and stack that on top. That's how much they've been paying, and it's not done yet. There's going to be more billions spent on this. So why would somebody like Kia say, hey, we want to bring in diesels to North America? They're just like, forget about it. We'll stick with gas, and we'll probably focus on hybrids and electrics. And you're starting to see that with Volkswagen now. Hey Zach, brand and dealer doesn't want to sell electric car when they know it becomes popular with time. Electric cars are not selling. They're not. Here are the cold hard realities. I'll use the Canadian market. In the US market, it's maybe a little bit more. Okay, in Canada, we are going to sell about 2 million cars in the Canadian market. In the United States, it'll be about 17 million cars. Okay, it's half of 1% are electric cars. Half of 1%. That means that 99.5% of all of the cars in Canada are gas or diesel. They're not electric, and that includes hybrids. So there's a reason why the dealers aren't selling them, and there's a reason why the car companies haven't brought them in a big way. They're not profitable. They're more expensive often for them to make the car than it costs to sell it, and the demand isn't there. You take away that $14,000 incentive in Ontario, 14 grand, and you take that away, you wouldn't be able to give. Oh, you would be able to give one away. That's a bad metaphor, but they would not be able to sell them. You take away the $8,000 in Quebec and the $5,000 in BC. Here's a perfect example. Volkswagen brought in the e-Golf, and they asked their dealers, who wants to sell one? Okay? Only dealers in British Columbia, only dealers in Quebec, and only dealers in Ontario said, we'll take e-Golfs. For Manitoba, Saskatchewan, the Prairie provinces, and everywhere else, not one of them raised their hand. You know why? There's no incentives. Electric cars today are based on incentives. Look at companies, I think it was it Denmark? I think it was Denmark. They had a change of government, and they had massive incentives on electric cars. And the new government got elected in, and they got rid of them. The electric car sales were like this. They got rid of the incentives. They went in the crapper. So electric cars are heavily subsidized by the brands, the car makers themselves, to make them, because they're compliance cars. They have to make them to meet standards for fuel efficiency and a whole bunch of regulations. But then you need the governments to step in and spend your money and my money, our tax money, on personal transportation, which I'm not a fan of. I would rather the money go into getting better transit, more subways, more trains, more buses. If you want people out of their car, you got to give them a world-class transit system. But giving somebody $14,000 off their car for personal transportation so they can sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic, it seems crazy to me. That's why electric cars and dealers are reluctant to sell them, because the numbers aren't there. As much as you go to places like California and you see a Tesla in LA or in San Francisco, you drive a couple hundred miles away from those big urban centers. There's not many around. You go to middle America, there's very few electric cars, and the same in Canada. You know, you get into, you know, I'm sure there are people in Saskatchewan have electric cars, but it's probably less than half of 1%. Have you heard anything about the fix for the 2013 diesel Passat? We are going through all of the diesels either getting bought back or repaired. For example, just last week, Volkswagen was approved for the fix for the 3-liter diesels for Cayenne, for Q7, and for Touareg. Some of the passenger cars and the Q5 have not been officially done yet. So they're working with the EPA in the United States to get these approvals. It's taking longer, but excuse me, I think it's just time, unfortunately, and it's going to be a long time for all of these things to get approved. With such a global market, why do manufacturers make it so hard to get, for example, LED taillights from Japan shipped to Canada? Well, we have really antiquated headlight and taillight rules in North America. For example, they had different taillight rules for rear taillights for North America versus Europe. And that's why when they did the facelift, say for the Volkswagen Golf, they found one taillight configuration that was universal around the world, and that's why they changed to that. Headlights are another thing. They have the most amazing headlights in Europe. When you're driving with the high beams on, they actually have little shutters that come down and obscure parts of the beam. So you drive in a country road, and there's a car coming towards you. It doesn't take the high beam to the low beam. It actually, there's a little shutter comes down and it protects the driver. So when they're driving along, they don't see the high beam, but everything else is illuminated. We can't get past high beam and low beam in North America. There's so many regulations that we have are so antiquated, and they have amazing technology in other parts of the world. We're just not allowed to take part in, which is absolutely crazy. And that technology, that dynamic headlight system or matrix, they call it, really is something else. Excuse me. Hey, I'm looking for my first car. Will the Jeep Renegade Sport Manual be a good idea? They're offering a $4,000 discount. Please help. The only problem with the base model Renegade is that it's only front-wheel drive and it's a rather small engine. But I would say try it out and see for yourself. I've never driven one because we never ever get the base model off into test drive. They always give us the fully loaded one. So that engine and that transmission is only available on sort of the base model. The Compass and the Patriot were the same way. So it's a smaller engine with manual transmission. But hey, if you like it, I'm not here to say not to buy it. I like the packaging of the Renegade. I think it's a real fun vehicle with lots of utility on the inside. If they've got a $4,000 discount on it, that's from FCA Canada, okay? Fiat Chrysler Automobiles Canada. Now, go in there and hit them for a discount from the dealer. And then look at their financing. So the trifecta, I call it, is discount from the manufacturer, discount from the dealer, and free money. You get 0% interest, 1% interest, 2% interest. Anything less than the prime rate in Canada is what I call free money. So if you can get the trifecta, then go for it. RX350 or Volvo XC60, do they compete in the same class? I believe the XC60 is a bit smaller. Yes, it is a little bit smaller, but they do compete in the same class. The XC60 competes more with the NX from Lexus, but the RX is a bit of an odd duck in the utility space. It used to be compact. Is it midsize? There are very few 2-row 5-passenger utilities anymore. The Jeep Grand Cherokee is one, Touareg was another, Cayenne is another, X5 has a 3-row option. So just to have 5 seats like that was really a bit of an oddity. The new Volvo XC60 is very nice and can be equipped with all kinds of things like air suspension that you can't get in the RX. My answer to all of this is always the same. Go and drive them both and pick the one that's best for your family. You know, I can't tell you, they're both excellent products, and it basically comes down to what works for you. Hey Zach, do you have any comments on the Range Rover Velar? I was at a Halloween party. Oh wait, where's my Halloween picture? Let me show it to you. There I am with my wife. Halloween picture. I'm the one in the army, by the way. The army outfit. So, oh, sorry, wrong one. I was at the party, and one of my neighbors has one of the first Velars here in Vancouver. Pretty cool. It's a nice looking car. So those that don't know, the F-Pace, which you've seen on the road now for a couple of years from Jaguar, is the all aluminum, two-row, 5-passenger, more compact utility vehicle. It's about the same size as the RX, by the way. They've taken that platform and they've turned it into a Range Rover, and it's called Velar. And I get it in a few weeks. I think it's the week of November 20th. I will have a full review on that. So I'm kind of running out of time here. We had some technical issues, which I've got to figure out. I apologize for that. I'll go down to the bottom here. Is there anybody that is it still delayed? Just so I know, did it ever get better before I sign off? From the technical issues, I apologize. By the way, I've got the new bar along the bottom here. If you want to follow me, there's Facebook there. Below that is my website. Which way do I go here? Then there's Instagram, and below that is Twitter. So follow on all of those areas, and of course subscribe to the channel, and you know, subscribe, of course, and hit the notification tab on YouTube, because a lot of people are telling me they're not getting the notifications, and it's not going through. All right, so I do apologize about the technical issues. My fault. I don't know what the issue is. I didn't touch a thing. I left it the same as last week, so my bad. I'll work on that. Thanks to everybody that watched. Please watch all the videos that are coming. There's lots of new content. Mike's going to be back, Mike Gurr, with a Lincoln Continental review and more. So thank you very, very much for your time. That's all the time we have for now. I'll speak to you next time. Cheers.